This is a topic in AP Precalculus that is pretty popular, appears in lots of different questions, and students get it confused often. So let's go over this. Notice I have it as a part one, so there's going to be a part two, which gets a little more in depth. But we want to put it in layers because you want to make sure you understand this first part, part one, and then we can add on the part two. So the first thing, and we're talking about just the function, okay, just the function f. And so we can, name our function here f in all of these cases. So if we're referring to only the function f and we're asked about when is it increasing or decreasing or positive or negative, those are the first concepts that you want to sort out. So let's look at the first two, which is increasing versus decreasing. So that goes with this little chart over here. So we say it's increasing, and they love to use the term output values and input values. So make sure that you know that output values is always talking about the function value or y, and input values is really just another way of talking about the x values. So, as you always, as you travel from left to right, we know that's when the input values are getting larger, right? Because this is representing a number line. So this is getting larger. So as the x values increase or the input values increase, if the output values or function values are actually increasing as well, then we call that an increasing function. So here you can see that the function values are getting larger because as you move up on the y-axis, the function values increase, get larger. And so visually, the graph looks like it's rising, right, from left to right. So this would be increasing and increasing. And so for these two, we would say this in interval notation that it's increasing on the interval from A to B. But then it also, you can see, lines up with C to D, increases on the interval from C to D. So decreasing, very similarly, the only thing that's going to change here is your output values are going to decrease. So you're still looking from left to right, but your output values now are getting smaller, right? Because as you go down on the y-axis, your values decrease. So visually, that's going to look like the graph is falling from left to right. So we would say that this is decreasing from B to C, okay, from B to C. And at these values where you have these points B and C, when X is B and C, we would say that it's neither increasing nor decreasing. So all of these will always be parentheses. We're not going to include those endpoints. Now, the next concept here is going to be when is it positive versus negative, talking about the function. So once again, this is the graph of our function f, and we just want to know when is the function positive. So it's positive if it is above the x-axis. All right, above the x-axis would be anything in this region, right? Negative is below the x-axis, so that would be anything in this region. So we really just need to compare it to the x-axis, but you can also compare it to the function value itself because the outputs, which we know is y or the function value, they should be also greater than 0, which means positive. Now, here, when you're actually at 0, and we put this down here in a note, we say it's neither negative or positive. So we would not actually include 0 like a bracket right here because it's not either positive or negative. However, we do bracket the A and the D in this case because at A, you can see that value is above the x-axis, so it is positive. And everything is above the x-axis until you get right here to 0. So everything, including A, all the way to 0. And then similarly, everything not including 0, but if we go all the way to D, D would also produce a negative function value. So you can put a bracket around that one. So you want to get these four concepts down first because these ones are speaking about the actual function itself. The next topic, when we say the part two that's going to come out, is actually going to be talking about the rate of change of the function. And so you have to get this idea down first. Okay, let's put it all together in an example, and we will go through by answering a few of these questions. So we're going to start off, where is the function increasing? So I've highlighted in yellow. Okay, you can see all of those places are where the function is increasing. So we can just write these ones down. So it's increasing from A to B, and then again from D to F. And then finally, it increases from G and then never stops increasing. So decreasing, if we look from left to right, we're going to start with from minus infinity to A, and then decrease again from B to D, and then decrease again from F to G. Okay, so remember, we're not including the endpoints there because at those endpoints, it's doing neither of those. So now we're going to look at where it's positive. Positive means we said above the x-axis. So positive would be all of this, right? But it does not include A and it cannot include C. So we're going to say that it's positive from negative infinity to C, but you have to take out the A. So we'll say negative infinity to A, and then again from A to C. And then we go over to this piece, and the story is very similar. We're going to say it's positive essentially from E to infinity, but we have to remove the G. So we'll say from E to G and from G to infinity. And then where is it negative? It's only negative down here where it's below the x-axis. So that's going to be all the values that are between C and E. Okay, so all of the values between C and E, it's below the x-axis, so we'll say it is negative. Now, look at number 5 down here. We need it to be increasing, so it has to be increasing, but it also has to be positive. So positive and increasing. So this time, if we're going from left to right once again, this is increasing and positive. And normally, if it's positive, just on this part, you could include the B and put a bracket there. But see, it's got to be doing increasing and being positive. So this is just going to be from A to B. And then increasing and positive again, it's going to be E to F. And then increasing and positive again would be G to positive infinity. So we cannot include that increasing part. Okay, where is it positive and decreasing? So that's going to be from minus infinity to A. All right, so it's positive and decreasing. And then it's positive and decreasing from here to here. So we'll say from B to C. And then positive and decreasing from F to G. All right, now negative and decreasing is only going to be, sorry, and increasing, negative and increasing is going to be from D to E. And negative and decreasing would be C to D, from C to D. Okay, so that's a quick overview of these first characteristics, which is just focusing on the function. So make sure that you get these concepts down: increasing, decreasing, positive, and negative, and then I'll see you in the next video.